I want to share with you a story that appears in the Yerushalmi that I think really brings words of inspiration from within the story to this time of year, both Hanukah and this unprecedented pandemic we're living through. It's a story about someone named Choni. He's the grandfather, at least in the Yerushalmi, of the famous Choni, who brings rain after a drought. But this Choni is a man of the people. He goes out to his workers in the field. He's tired. It begins to rain. He goes into a cave, falls asleep, and sleeps through the destruction of the first temple until the rebuilding of the second temple. He sleeps for 70 years. When he wakes up, he realizes the world has changed. Where there was a vineyard was an olive orchard. Where there was a wheat field, there's a vineyard. And so he looks around somewhat befuddled and asks the passers-by, what is going on in the world? And they say to him, don't you know? And he says, no. And they say, who are you? He says, well, I'm Choni. They say, look, we've heard of Choni. We can't confirm who you are because this is a little strange. But we know that when he used to go up to the temple and stand in the courtyard, light would shine forth. And so Choni goes up to the newly rebuilt second temple, and light shines forth. And he applies to himself the beautiful pasuk, when we return to Zion, we were as dreamers, which is a verse we say before we say the grace after meals. And in this story, what we see is tremendous resilience. Choni has woken up to a world that he doesn't recognize. He in some ways stands outside of time. But while he was sleeping, one world was destroyed and another was rebuilt. And the question is, how is he going to handle such a transition where everything he knew, what was familiar to him, no longer exists? And what he does is he goes up to the second temple and he finds the light within himself, and it shines through, creating this unbelievable bridge between the world that was, the world that is, and the world that will be. And I want to talk about our resilience, our ability to reach within ourselves, despite the unfamiliarity, despite the fact that so many things are no longer what they were. And at this time of year, try to shine a light in whatever courtyard we find ourselves in and act as a bridge, both for ourselves and others, in bridging what is inspiring to us, bringing it out and creating that inspiration, that connection in the world that we're now living in. Chanukah Sameach.